The following is a presentation of the Championship Racing Network.
Drivers, start your engines. Pull those belts down tight one more time, warm up those tires, hit your marks, and let's go racing, boys and girls. NASCAR, Indycar, Formula One, Formula E, and NHRA Racing Talk. This is the Championship Racing Network. Now here is your hosts, Steve West and Matt Nicholson, with producer John Myers.
Well, as Meatloaf said, 2 out of 3 ain't bad. We'll get into the details of that coming up here momentarily. Good morning to you. I'm Steve West, soon to be joined by co-host Matt Nicholson. We'll talk about producer John momentarily. But this week on the show, got yet another big change coming in Formula One. It's not a driver this time, by the way. But speaking of driver changes, got a big one coming up in the Cup Series. And then, well, if we're going to talk changes, I said changes as in more than one. These are possible at Stewart-Haas Racing. Okay. What about 2 Cup drivers possibly retiring? We have a snake sighting in the Northwest United States this weekend. Hey, IndyCar doesn't want to buy fans new cars anymore. So what has been done in order to try and keep that from happening? And finally, more budget cap fallout in Formula One. We'll get all that and more as we get rolling on this week's edition of the Championship Racing Network, which goes green right after this.
Stay right here for more on the Championship Racing Network. It's Tires and 2 cans of fuel, and we're back to more racing action on the Championship Racing Network.
Yeah, indeed, we are back. And to let you know, it is 2 of us in studio. I'm Steve West. I am joined here by co-host Matt Nicholson. Good morning to you, Matt.
I'm here.
Yeah, we're here. Producer John feeling a little bit under the weather, so he decided to head on back to the homestead. He has got our CRN Live YouTube feed going right now. So he certainly is taking care of things on that end. And there might be a little bit of a lag between the actual audio and the actual video, but it's not going to be too bad. It's one of those things that we continue to zero in on. So for those of you that are CRN Live YouTube video watchers, number 1, thank you very much. We appreciate it. Number 2, please subscribe. And number 3, if you already have, tell a friend, or 12 or 20. We'd appreciate it. And hopefully Producer John gets to feeling better. Let's take a rundown of what happened last week real quick. A lot of racing to talk about here. We need to get you points-wise set up for next weekend, or this weekend, I should say. Last weekend, we started up in the northeastern U.S. New Hampshire Motor Speedway got in the Xfinity Series race, and it even went into overtime. The planned 200 laps turned into 206. On the restart, John Hunter Nemechek took control, held off Chandler Smith, got his series-leading 4th win of the year. Nemechek really was dominant. He led 137 of the 206 laps. He left pole sitter Smith to settle for 2nd. They were trailed by Austin Hill, Daniel Hemrick, Sammy Smith, Justin Allgaier, Jeb Burton, Josh Williams, Brett Moffitt, and Mason Massey. An interesting top 10 there. Cole Custer, let's see, what do we got here? John Hunter Nemechek, again, the 1 seed, 4 wins. Then Austin Hill with 3, 2 wins for Cole Custer. And then single wins have Justin Allgaier, Chandler and Sammy Smith, and Jeb Burton all locked into the playoffs. As far as those that are in on points right now, Josh Berry leads those, and he had a pretty good qualifying effort for Pocono yesterday. Mm-hmm. Then Daniel Hemrick, Sam Mayer, Sheldon Creed, Riley Herbst. Riley Herbst feeling a little bit more comfortable. He is holding on to the final playoff spot, 18 points to the good over Parker Kligerman. Neither of them had a really good day at New Hampshire last weekend. Parker Kligerman wrecked out. Riley Herbst looked like he shortly after that had gotten wrecked out as well, but the team was able to fix the car enough to allow him to keep rolling on. Right. So just by pure attrition, he picked up, I think, a couple of spots, and that helped him get that 18-point lead there.
Yep.
We noted the Saturday Rome E-Prix last weekend as it ended during last week's show. Well, they ran again on Sunday. Same city, same course. Most likely don't know, but in Formula E, there is a chance to claim what they call a Grand Slam. What does that mean? It means you get the pole, you lead every lap, you get the fastest lap of the race, and then, of course, you win. Jake Dennis did all of that. It's only the 4th time in Formula E's decade of existence that has happened, and Jake Dennis has 2 of them. Dennis was more than 3 seconds ahead of Norman Nato at the checkers, Sam Bird 3rd. Then you had Eduardo Mortara, Sebastian Buemi, Max Gunther, Stoffel Van Dorn, Dan Ticktum, and Nico Muller making up the top 10. Jake Dennis also has the points lead now over Nick Cassidy by a score of 195 to 171. Mitch Evans is in there with 151. Pascal Wehrlein at 147 is really the only other driver capable of claiming the title, as all we really have left is a London E-Prix doubleheader. Mm-hmm. So we're just going to leave it at those 4. And we're only going to talk about those who have a chance at the team title mathematically, and that's down to 4 as well. Envision Virgin has the lead, 253 points. Tag Heuer Porsche falls to 2nd. They're holding 239. Tag Heuer, then you got, let's see, they're 239, 228 for Jaguar, losing my place here. And Avalanche Andretti with 218. So all of that could change, obviously, over the course of 2 races, and the fact that each of those teams has 2 drivers accruing points. You have a bad day or a good day for, say, an Avalanche Andretti, and things suddenly turn around.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
We shall see.
Oh, yeah.
IndyCar up north of the border was next, and I say north of the border, knowing, of course, that we're based here in the United States and we got listeners and viewers all around the world. I'm talking they went to Canada to run the streets of Toronto. Rahal Letterman Lanigan Racing was happy to see their driver Christian Lundgaard claim the pole, but he wasn't done there. He felt like he had something to prove. He and his crew devised a winning strategy that let him dominate the race. He ends up claiming the win by an almost Formula One-like 12 seconds over Alex Palou. It was the team's first win since Takuma Sato in the 2020 Indy 500, the first street course win for Rahal Letterman Lanigan Racing since Graham Rahal won both ends of the Detroit Belle Isle doubleheader back in 2017. Remember when they used to run 2 races in a weekend in Detroit? Graham Rahal won them both, but that was 6 years ago now. Over. Lundgaard claims his first ever IndyCar Series win. Congratulations to him. He led 54 laps along the way. Palou had to settle for second, again 12 seconds back. Then it was Colton Herta, Scott Dixon, Joseph Newgarden, Scott McLaughlin. Rookie Marcus Armstrong, who just continues to show that he's going to be a good driver. Pato O'Ward, Graham Rahal, and Felix Rosenqvist made out the top 10. Alex Palou increases his already dominant points lead. It's now 417 to 300 over Scott Dixon.
Game over.
Shall we call this Alex Palou champion in waiting or champion elect? Which do you prefer? I'll leave it up to you.
Yeah.
Battle for second and third is pretty close. Scott Dixon has 300, 291 for Joseph Newgarden, 275 for Marcus Ericsson. Pato O'Ward in there with 274. So there's still a lot of movement that could take place there. Scott McLaughlin, Christian Lundgaard, Will Power, Colton Herta, Alexander Rossi fell out your top 10 in points. Another top 10 for Armstrong increases his overall points lead for rookies. That's now 156 to 113 over Augustin Canapino. Stingray Robb still got the best name in racing, certainly in IndyCar. He's got 82. Benjamin Peterson's got 80, all but over as we are getting close to August here and just a few races left in the IndyCar schedule as well. Next up, the NHRA, due to weather in New Hampshire. Yeah, it was supposed to be the Cup Series actually up next, but that didn't happen. So the NHRA was up next for the final time at the current version of Bandimere Speedway out in Denver, Colorado. Top fuel came down to a duel between Doug Kalitta and Clay Millican. Millican just a hair quicker off the light, and when Kalitta lost traction, it was Millican's win. He pulled a 3.872 ET at 299.60 miles per hour, claims his first win of the 2023 season. Came down to Alexis DeJoria against Matt Hagan in Funny Car. DeJoria was napping at the light big time. I mean, we were talking like 1.154 for Alexis DeJoria on a reaction time. That will kill you every time, and Hagan took advantage. 4.135 ET, 304.25 miles per hour, and it didn't help that in addition to being asleep at the light, DeJoria lost traction. Hagan gets his fourth win of the year, 2023, 47th Funny Car win of his career. If these numbers, by the way, seem rather slow in comparison, remember, they're in Denver, Colorado, a mile up. Mm-hmm. Air's a little thinner up there, boys and girls. Mm-hmm. And here endeth your science lesson. Dallas Glenn, Troy Coughlin Jr. paired off in the Pro Stock Car Finals. Only 4 thousandths split them at the light. Just under 2 1,000ths was the difference at the other end. Coughlin, the winner, 6.933 ET at 196.64 miles per hour, claims his second 2023 win, fourth of his career to date, and it feels like he's just getting started. And speaking of just getting started, but being dominant, Gage Herrera back in the finals of Pro Stock Motorcycle, this time facing off against Angie Smith. Smith apparently got a little freaked out and red-lighted. Herrera gets the win, still pulled off a 7.103 ET at 187.73 miles per hour. That's his fourth of the year and fourth of his young career. So here's a quick rundown. Top 5 in each of the 4 different Camping World Drag Racing Series divisions. Justin Ashley atop Steve Torrance by 54. Then Leah Pruitt third, 105 down. 126 back as Brittany Force. Austin Prock trails by 139. Matt Hagan sits 45 up on Ron Capps in the Funny Car points lead. Alexis DeJoria is 121 down. 132 down is Robert Hite. Chad Green fifth, 171 back. Dallas Glenn's got a massive 202-point lead over Matt Hartford in Pro Stock Car. 204 over Troy Coughlin Jr., 247 up on Derek Kramer, and Aaron Stanfield, I should say, is fifth, 299 out. If you think 202 is big, just wait. There's more. Mm-hmm. Gage Herrera leading Pro Stock Motorcycle. Hector Arana is second and trails by 219.
That's
all
over.
But over there.
Yeah, that's way over.
Third place, Steve Johnson from nearby Birmingham, Alabama, sitting 282 back. 284 down is Angie Smith. Eddie Krawick trails by 288. Well, they decided to postpone until Monday, hoping that the Cup Series was going to get the race in, and the weather actually cooperated. They got it in, and it was a day for our producer and his driver, Martin Truex Jr. He flat out had the car he had the car to beat, and nobody could. He got his 34th career Cup Series win, but his first ever at New Hampshire. And this is important because New Hampshire feels like something of a home track for Martin Truex Jr. That was where he watched his first ever Cup Series race from the stands. He wanted that win badly. Mm-hmm. Congratulations to him. He got it. Led 254 of the 300 laps. Claims his third win of the year, besting fellow New England native Joey Logano. Then there's Kyle Larson, Kevin Harvick, Brad Keselowski, Tyler Reddick, Denny Hamlin, Bubba Wallace, Austin Dillon, and Chase Briscoe making up the top 10. William Byron leads the way in the Cup Series with 4 wins. Martin Truex Jr., Kyle Busch each have 3, 2 wins for Kyle Larson. They're all locked into the playoffs. Also locked in with 1 win each. Christopher Bell, Denny Hamlin, Ross Chastain, Ryan Blaney, Joey Logano, Tyler Reddick, and Ricky Stenhouse Jr. As for the drivers in on points, Kevin Harvick breezing in so far. So is Brad Keselowski, Chris Buescher. They're all in triple digits to the good side. Then it tightens up a little bit. Bubba Wallace and Michael McDowell are not as comfortable. Bubba Wallace a little more comfortable than Michael McDowell because Michael McDowell has a very slim 1-point lead over Daniel Suarez for 16th. Here's the thing that kind of gets me. The couple of drivers that are on the outside looking in, we've talked about Chase Elliott. He missed a number of races. He's going to have to win to get in. For a while there, it was looking like his fellow Hendrick Motorsports teammate, Alex Bowman, was going to be able to point his way in as well. But now all of a sudden, that car has cooled off. What's going on over there becomes the question.
Yeah, that's honestly really the big question because you've got 2 Hendrick cars that are safely in, and then the other 2 are like they're sitting on blocks of ice.
They are struggling.
Yeah,
and that's strange to say for a Hendrick cars.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, in my opinion, they're both in a win or die situation.
Feeling the pressure?
A lot.
Okay.
I would say a lot.
And is that, I mean, feeling the pressure enough to actually affect what they're doing on the track, I guess might be the better way to put it.
I would say yes.
It seems that way, certainly. Final recap of the week brings us to just over 24 hours ago as we air live race number 2 of the Superstar Racing Experience season. They remained at Stafford Speedway in Connecticut because of all the rains and the flooding in Vermont, specifically around Bear, which is where they were planning on going. So they stayed at Stafford. And late race passes, they're almost always good. That was the case for the Rocket Man, Ryan Newman. He got by then leader Daniel Suarez late in the race, claims the win. He's now won at Stafford 2 years in a row. He won there last year and shows just how much he really likes that small Connecticut track. Trailing him, Suarez, who was making his SRX debut, so not a bad one, finishing second. Marco Andretti third. Ken, I'll Drive Anything Anywhere Schrader next up, followed by Greg Biffle, Bobby Labonte, Tony Stewart, Haley Deegan, Kenny Wallace, and Brad Keselowski making up the top 10. They've filled out the 13-car field with Paul Tracy, Tony Kanaan, and the debut of Ryan Preece. You were talking about it to me. I was at a movie, so I didn't get to see what happened. But you said for a while there, Ryan Preece was looking really, really good and might claim the win. What happened that causes him to finish dead last in the field?
I think uncharacteristically, in my opinion, they fought a lot of brake failures. A lot.
Hot night in Connecticut again?
It was just the long straightaways, and the cars are faster this year.
Yeah.
Tony Stewart was talking about it post-race with the going from the bias ply to the radial tire. The tire's better.
Yeah.
Cars are faster. They're having to use a lot more brake because Ryan Preece had a brake failure. Tony Kanaan had a brake failure. Paul Tracy had a brake failure.
So that explains the bottom 3.
Yeah, quite a few cars had brake failures.
I got you. But otherwise, Ryan Preece have been looking good up until then.
Ryan Preece was walking away with it.
Okay. I don't know whether he's going to get another chance, but we'll talk about that coming up in the news. With 2 races now in the SRX Series under our belts, I'm going to only give you a select number of these, and I'll explain why here in a moment. Ryan Newman's your leader. He's got 76 points. He's up 14 on your defending series champion, Marco Andretti, who's got 62. 55 for Paul Tracy, Ken Schrader, 49, Bobby Labonte, 47. Tony Stewart stumbling out of the blocks with 45 and tied at 41. Speaking of stumbling out of the blocks, Brad Keselowski and Haley Deegan. I chose not to include the other drivers who have scored points or even wins because they're not driving in the series full time and will not have a chance at the title. So here we go. This weekend, racing has actually already begun.
Yeah.
Arca Menard Series running at Pocono, leading off a triple header at Pocono that later today we'll see the Craftsman Truck Series run the CRC Brake Clean 150 at Pocono. Fox Sports 1 MRN Radio beginning at noon Eastern, 11 a.m. Central Time today as we air live. Indycar will actually be up next, race 1 of the Iowa Speedway doubleheader weekend. It's the Hy-Vee Homefront 250. It'll be on NBC and IRN Radio. Starts 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Central Time. And then later on into the afternoon, you've got Xfinity Series taken to the Triangle of Pocono. They're going to run the Explore the Pocono Mountains 225. That'll be on USA and MRN beginning 5:30 p.m. Eastern, 4:30 p.m. Central Time. So they're racing each other and kind of the sun. Just saying.
A little.
No lights at Pocono. Sunday morning, U.S. time, got Formula One back in action. Got the Qatar Airways Hungarian Grand Prix on the 14-turn, 2.72-mile long Hungaroring circuit. It airs on ESPN beginning just before 9 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Central Time. And we've got some news about the future of the Hungarian Grand Prix coming up during Formula One news. Mm-hmm. IndyCar's second race of the Iowa Speedway doubleheader weekend will be the Hy-Vee One-Step 250 on the same short track, airing again on NBC and IRN Radio. This time 2 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Central Time. And then we ping-pong back to Pocono. Sorry for the alliteration. They're going to run the highpoint.com 400, airs on USA and MRN Radio, 2:30 p.m. Eastern, 1:30 p.m. Central Time. We ain't done yet because the Western Swing for the NHRA continues this weekend, heading to Pacific Raceways in Seattle. This will be the Flavor Pack NHRA Northwest Nationals. It'll air live on Fox, 4 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Central Time. That'll leave Formula E as our only series off. And then because we're on the air this weekend and we won't talk to you before it happens, coming this Thursday evening, Race 3 of the SRX series in their third season. This time they're going to Virginia, Radford, Virginia specifically, not too far away from Roanoke if you're looking for it on a map. And the Motor Mile Speedway, 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central Time, live on ESPN. What do you know about Motor Mile?
Solid little short track. They recently renamed it. I think it's a Pulaski County Speedway.
Okay.
Sounds like something that you literally off in the country, which
sure.
It probably is.
And it kind of is if you look at it on a map.
But it's a little bit smaller than Stafford, but got a lot more banking to it.
Okay.
So it should be a pretty good little race.
Should be a lot of fun. I'm sorry. I'm going to continue with Motor Mile because I like that word. I like that name better.
I do.
All right. So with all that out of the way, we're a little late. Sorry to producer John, who's sitting there going, dude, time. But anyway, we have gotten that out of the way, and we're going to get into some news next. After he won his race, Martin Truex Jr. got talking about his future. Question is what exactly does that future hold? Because about this time last year, he was talking about retiring. Apparently, he's talking about it again. We'll get into it next.
Stay right here for more on the Championship Racing Network.
Brewer Financial Services in...
2 tires only, and back out to the track for more action on the Championship Racing Network.
Back indeed, real quick before we get into things. We don't generally cover the ARCA Menard series unless it just, like this morning, happens to have been delayed and they're going to kick off a triple header at Pocono Raceway, or there's big news that might involve somebody who looks like they're about ready to jump up to Cup. But in this case, because they are racing at Pocono, we're going to keep you updated on what's going on up there. And for a race that really dropped the green flag like just before we went on the air, they're already at the halfway mark?
Yes, they are at lap 33 of 60. They're just going back green from the halfway break. Let's see, Jesse Love, Andres Perez de Lara, Connor Mozak, Connor Jones, and Dean Thompson sitting 1 through 5 right now currently.
All right. We'll keep you updated on it as we go through the show. So last year, 2022, it was one of those strange years where we were looking at Joe Gibbs Racing, kind of like what we were talking about when it came to the 24 and the 9 cars this year. What's kind of going on over there?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Kyle Busch was struggling, and Martin Truex Jr. went through a year with no wins. We knew what was going on with Kyle Busch. There were contract problems. And it was about this time that we started getting word, if I remember correctly. I can't remember the exact timeline, but it was right about this time that we started hearing, I think, that he was about ready to go to Richard Childress Racing.
Close, yeah.
But Martin Truex Jr. wasn't going anywhere, except maybe to retirement, at least according to some rumors. Well, spoiler alert, he didn't. His win last Sunday, claiming his 3rd win of the year. Now the question seems to be popping up again, and it has some wondering what else he has to achieve. So in other words, why wouldn't you just go ahead and ride off into the sunset after having an up year, right? Well, it did come up again after his win last weekend. His car owner, Joe Gibbs, told media after the win in the media center, quote, he tells me the same thing every year, that I'm, quote, right in the middle of trying to make this decision. I go, come on, what are you talking about, man? You're making money, you're having fun, you're driving race cars, come on. That said, Truex does admit he is once again thinking of his future. He told media in the same media press conference, quote, I'm bad at making big decisions. I wish I had more time to figure out what I want to do next year, but I don't. So I'll know soon. You'll know soon. Martin Truex Sr., his dad, talked to the Associated Press. He talked about it, said this, quote, the way they're running, I'd be surprised if he retired, but that's up to him. Martin Truex Jr. is a Cup Series champion. We talked about it. His win last weekend was win number 34. Mm-hmm. This is a guy who ended up, at some point in time, after his eligibility finally kicks in, will be in the NASCAR Hall of Fame.
Yeah, he's got Busch Series title, Cup title. That's a given.
The resume's there. There's no doubt there. Last year, a down year, there are people who have said, you know what, I don't want to finish on that. I mean, the one that I can remember the most, and I'll cross over on sports here, would be, and let's go back, kids ask your grandparents, to Ted Williams. Ted Williams, 1959, was in the final year of his contract with the Boston Red Sox, and for the only time in his career, finished with a batting average below 300. And he went to the team owner, Tom Yawkey at the time, and said, I can't leave like that. Yawkey was a humongous fan. He was as much a fanboy as he was a team owner when it came to Ted Williams, so he gave him another 1-year contract. To which Ted Williams looked at the contract and said, that's paying me too much. Pay me less. Think of a player saying that nowadays. He's still got about $100,000, give or take, for a final year in 1960, and the dude went out and hit 350 plus and then walked off into the sunset. With his last hit coming at Fenway Park, it was a home run. There is a correlation there. In that 2022 was a down year for Martin Truex Jr. 2023 certainly seems to be Martin Truex Jr. rounding back into shape. I see where Martin Truex Sr. is coming from, though. The way they're running, I'd be surprised if he retired. What Joe Gibbs said, you're winning races, you're making money, you're having fun, you're driving a race car for a living. What's there to worry about? But at some point in time, Martin Truex Jr. has to think, I'm done with this aspect, and I got to think about this aspect of my life.
True.
Odds on him not coming back to the 19 car next year, in your thoughts?
I'm going to say the way he's wording things, and the way he's kind of being hesitant. Let's word it that way. I'm going to say right now, I'm going to say at 65-35 that he does not come back.
That he does retire.
I got a feeling that you're about to see a scenario of this is going to be one of those Nico Rosberg style deals. He goes out, gets in the playoffs.
Oh, if he gets a title?
Wins a title, deuces, I'm out.
Okay, we know he's in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Bows out in the, let's say for whatever reason, something just really goes wrong and he bows out in the first round.
Mm-hmm.
If you're Martin Truex Jr., you come back because you're frustrated? But you're gone after round one.
Gone after round one. I'm like a shark chasing blood.
Mm-hmm.
I'm coming back for more. I'm not going to finish that route.
Bow out after round two.
I'm still a shark after blood, knowing that I had a good regular season that I did and won races in the regular season.
Okay. Make it to the round of 8, but miss the championship.
Maybe.
At that point in time, you become more 50-50.
50. It goes more, I'm going to say 25-75 leaving.
Mm-hmm.
Round 3, it goes 50-50. If I win the title, I could see a Nico Rosberg style situation.
Make the championship, don't win it. Make the championship 4, but don't win it.
I say it goes 75-25.
That he steps away.
Mm-hmm.
I got you. Kevin Harvick was on Race Hub, Fox Sports 1, earlier this week.
Mm-hmm.
And he kind of said something that I think does resonate to a certain extent, in that we would like to be able to celebrate him kind of like what we've been doing for Kevin Harvick all year long. But I will say this, and I'm not saying that Kevin Harvick is the most outgoing guy on the planet, but Martin Truex Jr. seems a lot more keeping himself kind of close to the vest. He doesn't seem to be that kind of guy who wants the spotlight of being celebrated throughout the course of a 36 points race season.
Sure.
He may not care for that spotlight. Kevin Harvick seems to be doing just fine with it and doesn't have a problem with it. Martin Truex Jr. doesn't seem like he's that kind of a guy who just wants that white hot spotlight on him all year long.
Mm-hmm.
Because here's the thing. If they happen to revert back to 2022 status and they're trying to celebrate him all year long, then you've got the dual question of, hey, it's going to be great to be able to celebrate Martin Truex Jr. all year in his final year, but what's wrong with the 19 car?
I would agree with you on that one.
So that's kind of a double-edged sword that he's dealing with there. I get that. And that's one of those situations where Martin Truex Jr. really does have a lot of thinking to do because, you know, I see where Joe Gibbs is coming from. You got great equipment. You're being paid to drive a race car, which is something that all three of us on this show, even the under-the-weather producer John, would love to do for a living. But at some point in time, realization does slap you in the face, and it doesn't matter what kind of an athlete you are. Sooner or later, you got to realize your racing, your football, your baseball, your basketball, your hockey, your soccer, your whatever career is going to come to an end because your body just can't take it anymore. You just can't play or drive at the same level that you once did.
Mm-hmm.
For some people, that's 50 plus. For Tom Brady, it was 45. For other quarterbacks, that's 35.
Mm-hmm.
For drivers, it varies. Like we said, Dale Earnhardt Sr., he was looking like he was going to be doing well into his 50s. But yet we've seen Jeff Gordon and Tony Stewart and Dale Earnhardt Jr. and other drivers who won races and or titles stepping away well before they turned 50.
See, Dale Earnhardt was 49. He was about to be 50
Mm-hmm.
when he lost his life. You got Kevin Harvick about to hang it up at 47,
Mm-hmm.
48. Gordon, I think, was 42 or 43-ish. Somewhere
in that area.
Somewhere in that area. All right, you got let's throw Eric Almirola in. He's
Sure.
in the conversation.
And we're going to get back to that here in a
He's
moment.
in the
by the way.
conversation. He's he's not far from my age.
Yeah. I was about to say, he hasn't
ballpark.
made 40 yet.
He's in the ballpark.
And he was already talking about retiring last year. Came back for one more year. Again, we'll get back to him in a moment.
Tony Stewart, he was, I think,
44?
45, 46.
45, 46 when he stepped out. Yeah, that's
Okay.
right. Matt Kenseth?
Matt Kenseth was, I think, 42.
Now, Dale Earnhardt Jr. was kind of a special situation. Concussions had gotten the better of him by that point in time.
Yeah, but it's still, he's in the 42, 43 range.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's all really more of a comfort level.
Yeah.
How comfortable are you in going how far you want to go? That's how I think.
Judging by those words right there that you heard from Martin Truex Jr., I wish I had more time to figure out what I want to do next year, but I don't, so I'll know soon, and you'll know soon. You'll know soon. Seem like he's getting a little more uncomfortable in the car?
I think so. I think if he doesn't end it after this year, 24 is it.
Okay.
24 is it.
So at the very least, next year will be the farewell tour.
At the least, but at the same time, you got to look at how the turnover of Toyota is
Mm-hmm.
and what kind of a backlog they have of people pushing like, hey, where's my seat? Where's my seat? Where's my seat?
We just talked about the kid that won his 4th Xfinity Series race, running for Joe Gibbs Racing, John Hunter Nemechek. How long is he going to wait?
That 20 car,
Just saying.
it's going to be close.
Going to be an interesting one. When we come back, from one talking about retiring to one driver making a rather surprising switch when it comes to their car that they're going to be running in the Cup Series next year. Plus other talk of retirement from a 2-time champion. And we'll even delve into some rumors when it comes to Cup Series drivers. All that and more coming up right after this on CRN.
We will be right back with more on the Championship Racing Network.
Pell City FFA alumni.
we're back to the Championship Racing Network.
We are back, and it seems like silly season will give us at least one eyebrow-raising, if not downright shocking move. A few years ago, when Stewart-Haas Racing announced shortly after the beginning of the year that they were switching from Chevrolet to Ford, everybody on this show had our jaws hit the floor. This one, kind of similar.
This is what you would say would be one of those Whiskey Tango Hotel.
Rick Ware Racing, the perennial doormat team. This year they've had troubles off the track as much as they have had trouble being a contender on the track. On track, they've never really been contenders for wins, save the occasional rain-shortened race, which does wreak havoc and creates strange top tens. Producer John should have an image up coming here shortly on CRN Live on YouTube, which NASCAR.com will have, because off track this year, when the team fired Cody Ware, he got into legal trouble in North Carolina related to alleged domestic violence issues. Since then, the team's been kind of using a revolving door of drivers to fill in. But Thursday, the team seems to have signaled an intent to be taken more seriously. They signed the biggest name driver that they've ever had. They pulled Justin Haley away to drive for them beginning next year in a multi-year deal. Haley begins his third season at the Cup level this year. He's in his third year. Almost all of his Cup starts have come with Kaulig Racing, but he was full-time in Xfinity for Kaulig when he did claim a rain-shortened mid-season Daytona win back in 2019. That was a race that Matt and I tried to get in, but because of the rain, we ended up having to leave early. And the rains continued on Monday. We were listening as he won the rain-shortened race on the way back up to home. He drove for Spire Motorsports that particular race. Well, what this means is that not only does Rick Ware Racing get Justin Haley, who is a Cup Series winner and an Xfinity Series winner, it also means Haley not only switches from a win-contending team in Kaulig to a traditional backmarker and moves from Chevrolet to Ford. But they've got apparently a plan over there. Let's get to what we don't know. What we don't know is this. We don't know which one of the two RWR cars that they field he's going to take on. They've got the 15. They've got the 51. We don't know which one he's going to get into. We also don't know right now who his sponsor is, and we don't know whether that sponsor is one that Haley's bringing in or one that Rick Ware Racing actually has for him. Here's what we know. He signed a multi-year deal. This is one that Haley calls a quote-unquote unique opportunity. We know this. RWR has something this year of a technical partnership with Stewart-Haas Racing. We know that they've been setting up cars for drivers like Jenson Button. They're going to do that again, spoiler alert, when Button comes in and races later on this year. I think he's supposed to run at the Indy road course race.
Correct.
Expect Stewart-Haas Racing to set the car up for them then. It is thought that alliance might only be bolstered with Haley's signing. But then we got a full press release from Rick Ware Racing, which Matt has, and it changes things a little bit more.
All right. From where Justin starts speaking in the press release, I will read it from there down. All right. Quote, "This is a unique opportunity that I look forward to," Haley said. "There are many key pieces of this program I believe can help me in taking the next steps in my NASCAR career. Haley is a winner across all three National Series, Cup, Xfinity, and Truck, his Long Cup win in 2019. All right, let me go to the next one. "This is a great day for our team on many levels," team owner Rick Ware said. "Having someone with Justin's talent and background become part of our future is a testament to our commitment and growth over the past few years. I personally have known Justin for a long time, respect all that he has achieved, and look forward to great success together. Signing Haley represents a big move by RWR, regarded as a small team within NASCAR as it continues striving to grow into a consistently competitive team. In years past, RWR signing a young talent with upside would have been atypical of how the team has previously largely operated. But as part of a 3-year plan that began 18 months ago, so you're a year and a half in, Ware made a decision to invest heavily into the team to increase its overall competitiveness. Corresponding moves has since have included organizational restructuring behind the scenes that saw Robbie Benton named president and Tommy Baldwin competition director, a closer association with Ford, and entering into a technical alliance with RFK Racing.
So they're going to go align with Roush Fenway Keselowski.
Haley's versatility as a driver in multiple series, the continuity we can build around Justin, and the respect among his peers will pay great dividends for our team, Royer said. He will be a great teammate for the RWR RFK Racing Alliance.
All right.
I see a smoke screen here.
Let's talk about the potential good first. What we've seen out of Rick Ware Racing as they have stretched out and gone into other forms of racing is they formed an alliance. They have gotten into IndyCar racing, formed a nice alliance over there, and they have been contenders, and I think they even have a win. Was it Del Coyne Racing, I think it is?
Yes.
They've gotten into sports car racing. They've done pretty well there. They've always been, as we have said here on this show, we just said it moments ago, they have always been a backmarker team when it came to NASCAR. And it didn't matter whether we were talking about Cup Series or Xfinity competition. It does seem like they are now settling in and going, you know what? We're not happy with just being a participant anymore. We need to do something. So they've gone through, they've looked at how other teams are set up, and they've gone and they found the people that they feel are the best ones to be at the upper level of management. You mentioned Tommy Baldwin, for example.
Mm-hmm.
And on top of that, they go out and they actually did take a big chunk here. Now, is Justin Haley the most accomplished driver that they possibly could have signed? No. But Justin Haley, we have seen, is very, very good at the super speedways like Talladega, like Daytona, Atlanta to a certain extent. So this does seem like Rick Ware Racing is willing to take things a lot more seriously, at least on the surface. What are you seeing below the surface?
With this alliance changing, them allying themselves with RFK.
Mm-hmm.
One, and this is me talking with a helmet on.
Okay.
If I'm leaving let me word it this way, a consistent top 15 car.
Sure. Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
If I'm going to leave a top 15 car and go to a historically backmarker, let's say 27th down place car.
Yeah, I was going to say outside the top 25 car.
There's got to be something somewhere that is so much bigger than what I've got right now that's going to make me leave that car.
Oh, absolutely.
Chris Rice, the colleague president, has already said, and it's already on social media, that it wasn't even close to being a performance-related problem.
Oh, it couldn't have been.
We know that's not the problem.
Yeah. No, we've seen what Colleague has done this year, and no, it's not that.
He said it's just business, how business works.
Yeah.
Unless Chris Rice is throwing up a really huge smoke screen, I believe Chris Rice.
Oh, yeah. I believe him, too.
Secondly, I'm pretty sure, and I will call it I will timestamp my statement at 8:52 a.m. on July 22nd, 2023. I firmly feel you're looking at the predecessor to the 6 car when Brad Keselowski hangs it up. If they're entering into an alliance with RFK,
yeah,
I feel like you're looking at the next guy to sit in the 6 car.
So they're grooming.
I feel like they're grooming him.
Okay. All right, well, let's go here. I mean, we've wondered for a while whether RFK would expand out to more than their 2 cars. I mean, at one point in time, they were a 5-car operation before NASCAR limited teams to 4. This is essentially RFK expanding.
Sure.
Because in all likelihood, they're not only building, but they're setting up the cars and then sending them over to Rick Ware Racing for all the wraps and all that.
And this is really crazy to say, but that 51 car is fully funded this year.
Mm-hmm. It is.
The Biohaven OTC medical company, along with Jacob Companies, they've been a primary sponsor on that car all year long.
Yeah.
Rotating. So that 51 car is fully funded. We know it's not a sponsorship problem.
No.
Rick Ware can get sponsors on a car.
Obviously.
He can get sponsors on that Indycar. He can get sponsors on that Top Fuel car.
That's true.
That Top Fuel car is one of the most colorful cars in the paddock area at NHRA.
Yeah.
I've seen it with my own two eyes.
And I forgot to mention the fact that they expanded to the NHRA.
Yeah. So
that's not a problem. They're going to get better cars. They've got a good hotshot young driver who's a little inconsistent, but again, he's a good hotshot youngster.
Mm-hmm.
What are you thinking about this team in 2024? Because we know this already. Cowlick has said Haley's not going anywhere for the rest of the year. He'll be in the Cowlick car the remainder of 2023.
Mm-hmm.
So Daytona 500, I'm not going to worry about the Busch Clash because it's a cash grab. Starting with the Daytona 500, what are you looking at for Justin Haley and Rick Ware Racing?
I'm going to say, I'm not only going to look at the 500, I'm going to look at the duels.
Okay.
If it lines up and the stars align to where the 6, 17, and I'm going to say he's going to be in the 51.
Okay.
The
We'll throw that
6,
out there.
17, and 51 can stay with each other, which we've seen it before, and multiple people have seen it before.
Mm-hmm.
That 51 car at Talladega and Daytona has a tendency to be off the pace and out of the lead draft quick.
Yes, it does.
If that 51 car locks on and he stays on that 6 and 17 car,
Which
and they
be
work
crazy if he didn't.
If they work closely together, I'm going to say top 15, top 10's not out of the question.
Okay. Contender for a win next year?
Super speedways.
Okay.
Any given super speedway race.
So we don't know it for a fact what exactly the schedule is going to look like next year, but at some point in time early in the year, we know they're going to take a West Coast swing. Vegas, don't know where in California. Could be Sonoma, could be Auto Club, could be someplace else. We don't know. Certainly Phoenix. Vegas and Phoenix, definitely.
Yep.
What do you think there at those two races? Because Haley's good at intermediate tracks, but he's going to Rick Ware Racing, where we have constantly been looking at them as a sub top 20, outside the top 25 car. That's where the rubber's really going to meet the road for this team.
I'm going to say Phoenix is going to be your telltale.
Okay.
Because I go back to what you say right there with the intermediates. I agree with you. He's pretty decent on intermediates.
Mm-hmm.
He's arguably one of the most underrated super speedway racers in the top 3 series right now.
I could agree with that.
So that's why I'm saying any given super speedway style event, he could be a threat.
So that's 6 races, technically. Daytona, Talladega, Atlanta.
All right. Phoenix is going to be the telltale because it's that short track towards an intermediate style race in the middle.
That's going to be the big early season tell.
Yep. I would agree.
It's going to be interesting there. And here's the thing. I mean, Matt Cowlick, we've talked about Matt Cowlick. He's got himself set up. He has a solid foundation over there. But now he loses the driver that really kind of helped him build that organization and advance it up into the Cup Series. Justin Haley was that guy.
Mm-hmm.
Justin Haley's gone. AJ Allmendinger's there. But you still got that second car. Who takes it over?
Everybody keeps saying Chandler Smith. I'm going to say no.
Okay.
Chandler Smith needs at least another full Xfinity season.
Mm-hmm.
My eyes are squarely on Austin Hill.
Okay.
With their alliance and their partnership with RCR, it's squarely on Hill. Hill's got backing to bring a sponsor to fill the gap to get not as many races at leaf filters on the car, even though Matt Collick has got more than enough money to take care of that. Still.
Let me throw out another name there, a guy who has been in the Cup Series, but is right now kind of mired, if you will, in Xfinity competition. Daniel Hemrick.
That I'm going to say 45-55.
You still think that he's going to be a kid in waiting?
He's got to get more consistent, if you ask me.
Okay.
He's got to get more consistent. The consistency from Austin Hill has been there.
Mm-hmm.
Hemrick, he's
got to find it again.
He's got to find it again. He's been a bridesmaid a little too much. Is it his fault? No.
Same problem that we got with Riley Erbst over at Stewart Haas Racing.
Sure.
It's the way to look at it.
Yeah.
Speaking of Stewart Haas Racing, rumors are rumors. We don't play a whole lot with them, but here's the thing. We keep hearing more about this potential move when it comes to one particular rumor regarding Stewart Haas Racing. We'll dive into it when we come back. Plus, Richard Childress Racing putting out a number that we haven't seen come out in the Cup Series for a little while now. And we'll tell you who's going to be behind the wheel as the Aussies are invading us.
We will be right back with more on the Championship Racing Network. Tires and 2 cans of fuel, and we're back to more racing action on the Championship Racing Network.
Yeah, we are. Hour number 1 in the books. Spent a lot of time talking about the Cup Series, and here's the thing. We still got more to deal with. Because rumors are what rumors are. And I've said this before. We don't play a whole lot with rumors here. We don't play a whole lot with speculation. Because sometimes there's just a whole lot of smoke. Sometimes there's a lot of fire down there at the bottom of all that smoke. And it's hard to tell sometimes which is which. But just talking about the situation with Martin Truex Jr., maybe not retiring again. Talking about a switch for Justin Haley from Cowlig over to Rick Ware Racing, which again is an eye raiser, if not an eyeball popper. Now we're in that situation where Stewart-Haas Racing, we know, has to replace the driver in the 4-car. That's already done. In case you missed the news, already been taken care of. Kevin Harvick at the end of the year will get out of the 4-car for the final time as full-time driver in the Cup Series. And next year, the driver of the 4-car is Josh Berry. Pulled him away from Junior Motorsports. Last year, towards the beginning of the year, Eric Almirola said that 2022 was going to be his final year driving the 10-car for Stewart-Haas Racing. And about midway through the year, he had a change of heart and a change of mind. Probably after talking to his family who went, dude, what are you thinking? Now he's in that same situation again. And we're in that position where more people than not are saying that Eric Almirola's all but out of the 10-car at the end of this year. So that means Stewart-Haas Racing not only needs to change one driver, they need to change two. Well, again, Harvick's out, Josh Berry's in. 4-car, no problem. 10-car, on the other hand, becomes an interesting situation. And again, rumors are rumors. And we didn't deal with it upon the first time we heard the rumor. Mm-hmm. But now there are more people that are parroting this rumor regarding the 10-car and the future of what's going to happen at Stewart-Haas Racing and at Ford. Let's make sure that you understand why I just said that. Because Ford is doing a lot like Toyota. They are trying to have all of their teams, all of their cars be a little bit more integrated with each other and sharing information amongst each other. Mm-hmm. It's not, this is my information, you go find out what works for you. Ford wants everybody. They want all the rising tide to lift all the Ford boats, so to speak. So you heard this rumor, and again, you're not the only one that's heard it, and we're not the first ones to report it. But I do find it interesting that this seems to be gaining a little bit more traction as we go on. This rumor centers around Eric Almirola will get out of the 10-car at the end of this year.
It does. And the name that I heard in the Paddock area, mid-Ohio, was Michael McDowell.
Going to the 10-car. Because everybody seems to have been talking about one of those Smiths that's down at the Truck and Xfinity Series level.
Zane Smith.
So where does Zane Smith fit into all this?
Apparently, and key word, that R word he said just a minute ago, rumor.
These are rumors. Understand that.
Zane's going to go to the 34.
And McDowell switches to the 10-car.
10.
Now, we've seen what Michael McDowell has been capable of and Front Row Motorsports, to their credit, has stepped up their performance over the last 2-3 seasons. I mean, Michael McDowell's even won and he's been a contender and he's, sniffs around being a playoff contender even when he didn't claim that win. Mm-hmm. He's just on the outside looking in right now. Mm-hmm. So it's not that they're in a horrible car, but the truth of the matter is, on the surface at the very least, the 10 car is a better car than the 34 on the surface.
Sure. On the surface. But the last 10 weeks, let's say the last 10 weeks, the 34 has been one of the top 4 Fords on any given week. One of the top 4. Mm-hmm. So Ford's got 4, 7, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah, Ford's got 12 cars.
And he's consistently in the top third of that number.
Mm-hmm.
Now, last weekend, Eric Almirola, if you just look at the results at the end of the race, it didn't look like he had a good race. Eric Almirola was having a fantastic race until he had a tire go out on him.
Yeah, on a 2-tire pit stop, they left the lug loose.
Yeah.
Which is inexcusable.
It really is. Nowadays, after having a full year of being able to get used to this particular lug nut, yeah, it is. You're supposed to be a top flight pit crew on a top flight team. That's a rookie mistake.
Yeah.
On a Rick Ware racing team. Sorry.
Bingo. So, yeah.
Again, it's rumor, it's speculation. We don't know. A lot could change between now and the end of the year. Eric Almirola might say, you know what? I'm coming back in 2024. We don't know. But it is interesting to listen to those kind of rumors and see whether or not there is anything to them. Here's something that we do know, and we got a picture of this one as well, so producer John, get ready. It's been some time since we've seen Richard Childress Racing put the number 33 out on the track in the Cup Series, but they're set to do it for the upcoming Indy Road Course race. Pull out the 33, and driving it's going to be another one of those Australian supercars drivers. In this case, it's going to be Brad Kostecki. He's a native of Western Australian city of Perth. Got 2 wins. He's second in the series standings this year. He's all of 25 years old, and now this year becomes the second driver from that series to come and race in the Cup Series. Here's the thing. He has to follow in Shane Van Gisbergen's footsteps. And those are really, really big footprints because that's the guy who won in his first ever race, the Chicago Street Course race. Thanks to Richard Childress, by the way, for the picture that I hope you're seeing on CRN Live on YouTube. Kostecki, just to be clear, is no stranger to the United States. He's won 15 races in the UARA Late Model Race Series. I should say at 15, he won a UARA Late Model race at Rockingham. Not an easy track to gain, to get a hold of real quick. 2013, 2014, 10 starts in what we now call the ARCA Menard Series East. Claimed 2 poles and a best finish of 5th. And here's the thing. This is going to be an interesting race. So you got Kostecki in the 33 car. You got Jenson Button driving again for Rick Ware Racing in the 15 car. And that, we do believe, again, will be a car set up by Stewart Haas Racing. Oh, by the way, former F1 and IndyCar driver Kamui Kobayashi is going to be running a 3rd car for 2311, not 23 by 1, racing on the IMS road course. But wait, there's more. Speaking of SVG, he's about to put his perfect 1-for-1 record on the line by getting back into the Trackhouse Racing Project 91 car to race that exact same Indy road course race. Again, we talked about it a couple of weeks ago when he won it. He's only the 7th driver in Cup Series history to win his first ever Cup Series race. Pulled off the feet in that Chicago Street Course race. The first guy to win in his first ever Cup Series race since 1963 before NASCAR actually called it the Cup Series. Afterward, after the Chicago race, Trackhouse Racing owner Justin Marks said that he didn't know if that car was going to hit the track again this year. Said that he didn't want to divert too many resources from his full-time cars, the one for Ross Chastain and the 99 of Daniel Suarez, but apparently he found enough for one more race. Marks did say this, quote, beyond probably 3 races, it starts to become a 3rd team, so I think 3 is really sort of the limit for us, but he really likes SVG for a race like this. So this is 2 races for SVG, and I think it was, what was it, Coda that we saw Kimi Räikkönen in the 91? Mm-hmm. This is going to be a road course ringer race like we haven't seen really in years at the Cup Series level. We see 1 or 2, but this many?
You get one more car in the field, you've got a 40-car field.
Somebody's going home. Well, a couple of somebody's going home, maybe.
You get one more entry, confirmed entry into that, you've got a guaranteed 40-car field right there. Because you got your 36 charter cars, Kostecki in 33, that's 37.
Mm-hmm.
Kobayashi in 67, that's 38.
Mm-hmm.
SVG in the 91, that's 39.
Yep.
Does things get settled down from the personal side of things for Jimmy Johnson and he runs one more? There's your 40-car field.
Yeah. I mean, they already missed one that they were planning on doing. They were planning on doing the Chicago Street Course race.
And at the rate this is going, I may have to go north on 65.
Might be a fun weekend to
That's
watch.
going to be an insane race.
Yep, I agree. Fun weekend, no doubt. And one more note in the Cup Series, back to the idea of a driver potentially retiring. Admittedly, he says he's likely several years away from being done with NASCAR as a driver. But Kyle Busch is talking about what his future will look like and how it probably will look like whenever it finally comes to fruition. He talked to Sirius XM Satellite Radio earlier this week. The two-time Cup champion said this, quote, "In a perfect world, I would retire from Cup racing when my son Brexton is 15, and I would go run a year of truck. I'd go run a full Truck Series season, see if I can win a Truck Series championship, because then I would be the first one to have ever won a championship in all three of NASCAR's top series. He's already got a Busch/Xfinity Series title, and he's got, obviously, 2 Cup Series titles. He's obviously won the most races across all 3 of those divisions combined. All of that stuff is accomplished. He likes that. So what then? Well, the now 38-year-old Kyle Busch concluded, so I would do that, and then when Brexton turns 16, we could split the truck where he can run the shorter tracks and I can run the bigger race tracks, because you have to be 18 to run the big tracks. So for 2 years, we'd split the truck, and then when he's 18, he takes over, hopefully wins a championship, moves on, and then I'm out. I'm done. That'd be it for me. So that'd probably put me around, I guess, 49, 50 years old. So he's talking about stepping out of the Cup Series here in about 6-7 years.
Mm-hmm. Wait, yeah, Brexton's 8. Yeah, Brexton's 8.
And by his own timeline, 8 more years puts Brexton at 16.
Mm-hmm.
And he said he wants to do 2 years, 1 full year of driving. So that puts Brexton at 15. That's 7 years. So that's 45. Mm-hmm. What were we just talking about earlier about drivers stepping out of the Cup Series before 50?
Yep. Yeah.
Kyle Busch is talking about stepping out of the Cup Series at 45. Wow.
I mean, it's understandable because, I mean, at the rate, the way these cars do now and the way they put a beating on people.
Yeah, that they do.
It's not uncharacteristic if you ask me.
Yep. All right.
Running for 30 years. That's a long career.
It's a long career, no doubt about it. Let's take a quick look what happened up at Pocono up there, because from what I understand, Checkered Flag has shown.
It has. Jesse Love takes his 5th win of the year.
All right. Congratulations, Jesse. Looks like he's on his way to a title if he can hold on to it.
Yeah.
Xfinity Series got an interesting picture here where Jeb Burton's going to get the chance to pay homage to a legendary but somewhat overlooked fighter plane this weekend at Pocono. I mean, we all talk about the P-51 Mustang if you're a World War II buff. But this weekend, his number 27 is going to have the look of what they call the Pudgy. It's a nickname of a Lockheed P-38 Lightning piloted by a Major Thomas McGuire Jr. That's the name above the door that you'll see on the picture on CRN Live on YouTube, courtesy of Jordan Anderson Racing. McGuire is a Medal of Honor recipient. He actually flew 5 different aircraft during his World War II and military career. He nicknamed every single one of them Pudgy. But it was in the P-38 that he made his name as the 2nd highest scoring ace in World War II for the United States of America, but unfortunately lost his life in action in the Philippines January 7th, 1945. The sponsor for the weekend, Per Year Tank Lines, is behind this idea. Per Year has long been committed to not only supporting racing, but supporting the men and women of the U.S. military, and they like to take a chance during the races that they're the primary sponsor to honor the men and women who are either serving or have served. And here at CRN, we say bravo, and I got a really good look at that picture. And again, it is up on CRN Live on YouTube, and that's a pretty good-looking car right there.
It is.
That's a pretty good-looking car. So bravo to Per Year and to Jordan Anderson Racing and to Jeb Burton, because that's the way to do it right there.
Yep.
Another picture out beginning this weekend at Pocono, Front Row Motorsports and championship contender, the guy that we just mentioned, Zane Smith, welcoming a new sponsor. They're bringing in the Birch Gold Group. You can see that truck on CRN Live on YouTube, courtesy of the team itself. You're going to be a primary sponsor this weekend, and when the series goes to the Milwaukee Mile, they'll be an associate sponsor for the remainder of the year. And with the signing of Birch, Front Row reports that the 38 truck is fully sponsored for the 2023 season. So congratulations to them on that. Let's take an early break here, because when we come back, more pictures to show you, 3 of them specifically regarding plans by Bristol Motor Speedway officials when it comes to, again, the Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway. We'll dive into all that when we come back. Plus, we'll turn our attention to SRX news, Got some IndyCar and Formula One news coming up as well, and a little NHRA too. All that and more still to come on CRN.
Don't touch that dial. The Championship Racing Network will be right back. Back out to the track for more action on the Championship Racing Network.
We need to turn on a microphone. We are back. I'm Steve West along with Matt Nicholson, producer John Myers, producing as well as he possibly can from home, which means there's a potential for some interesting lag between video and audio. So if there is some of that, we apologize. He's certainly doing the best he can. Before we talk about what Bristol officials have in store for Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway, let's talk Formula One here because Q1 for the Hungarian Grand Prix is done and 5 drivers are out. Who are they?
The 5 that are out going from 20 to 16, Logan Sargent, Kevin Magnussen. Did anyone have George Russell going out on their bingo card in Q1?
Can't say as I did.
Yuki Tsunoda and Alex Albon.
You also made another interesting notation about the guys who are basically the champions in waiting.
Yeah. Did anyone else on their bingo card as well have an Alfa Romeo sitting in P1 over the Red Bull cars in Q1?
If you did, I'd be shocked.
If you did, I'm going to go play the Mega Millions lottery with you.
Yeah, no doubt. That said, Alfa Romeo brought an interesting wing this weekend, a brand new wing.
They did. And
I'm wondering how closely F1 officials are starting to look at that now.
I don't know, but it's not the Alpha you think it is either.
Oh.
Zhu Guan Yu.
Okay. Not Valtteri Bottas. Interesting. All right. Let's take a look at 3 pictures here If you haven't seen these, they're actually pretty cool. Check it out on CRN Live on YouTube. Artist renderings are what these are specifically. They're rotating on CRN Live on YouTube, courtesy of Bristol Motor Speedway. These are the latest plans that detail the first restoration since voters in Davidson County, Tennessee overwhelmingly supported preservation of the facility several years ago. And since then, they've been kind of trying to figure out how that preservation is going to take effect. And Bristol and SMI officials have been working with officials in the city of Nashville and the Nashville Fairgrounds Park Board and all that kind of stuff to try and get this thing approved and then begin the work. They signed a partnership agreement last year that would see Bristol lease, restore, and operate the track, which also shows that the city has really little to no financial obligation to assist in this, which would allow really for projected revenues in the $200 million range annually for the city and the metropolitan area, and little to no obligation from the city or its residents when it comes to tax money, as opposed to, I don't know, the multi-billion-dollar brand new stadium that they're building for the NFL's Tennessee Titans. Think about that for a moment, okay?
Yeah.
Among the plans on the drawing board that you can kind of see there, they're going to resurface the track and pit road, which it needs to be done. We've been there. It's got personality, yes, and drivers like personality, but sooner or later, personality only gets you so far.
Mm-hmm.
So they're going to have to resurface the track and the pit road area. They're going to have to rebuild and expand the outside wall and the catch fence to bring it up to date, obviously, and install safer barriers to bring it up to NASCAR standards. After the base needs, then comes the modernization program that will upgrade the hospitality suites, the concession stands, the restrooms, and upgrade to modern-day Americans with Disability Act regulation status because they're actually a little behind on that. Not too far, but it's a little bit inconvenient for those who have disabilities. All of those plans are in effect, and if the artist renderings are anything like what this will look like in real life, all those people who've been complaining need to shut the heck up. Because all those plans that they're showing off, and that does include a sound barrier wall, should be more than enough.
Beyond that.
Because not only that, but those people that we were talking about that effectively have a soccer stadium 50 feet behind their backyard, they get more noise from that than they'll ever get now from that track.
Yeah. I'm still baffled by this because you've got some council members, whatever aspect of it they're in.
Yeah.
Council members. Oh, they're only worried about getting the votes from their voters. And, you know, the voters are the people, they can't turn their TV. They have to turn the TV up to 10 just to be able to hear when NASCAR's in town. All right, flag on the play right there. I'm not throwing a 15-yard personal foul. I'm throwing a 50-yard personal foul. NASCAR's not in that part of Nashville.
No, they're not.
That is late models, people.
Now, would they like to be there? Yeah. I mean, there's talk about putting a truck series race there. I'm not sure the Cup Series will ever go back. Maybe, but I'm not sure. But even if they do, it's not going to be that loud.
It's really not. It's not dead in the water. It's just you got to get through these one or two
stupid hurdles.
Imbeciles. Let's call it that.
Yep.
One or two little imbeciles. I'm going to throw an interesting analogy out here. They're trying this in a big town. Come try this in a small town.
There you go. I like that.
Try it in a small town and see what happens.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Look at what you get coming into the city. They're more worried about noise. Last time I checked, track was there before you were.
Uh-huh. You moved into the neighborhood with a racetrack. That's on you.
If you want to have conversation with people, let's take you to the few residents that live on Harry Byrd Highway near Darlington. Let's take you to the entire subdivision that you have to go through to get to Richmond.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see here. You don't have to worry about Charlotte, Daytona, Talladega, Nashville, Atlanta. Hey, let's Martinsville. Mm-hmm. There's one.
Yeah.
Most of the other tracks are in pretty rural area. But Martinsville and Richmond, those residents would like a word with you.
Absolutely. And the thing about it is, we're seeing that down at Homestead, Miami, too, because when you and I went there a couple of years ago,
you have to drive through a subdivision to
we're
get
watching
to the track.
neighborhoods get closer and closer and closer to track property.
Mm-hmm.
You're the ones moving to a track. Expect noise. And here's the other side. Again, as opposed to that soccer stadium we just talked about, as opposed to the brand new stadium that will replace the stadium that was built not even 30 years ago. Those, the taxpayers are on the hook for. In this case, the taxpayers have almost no obligation whatsoever. It's all Bristol and SMI.
Yeah, every bit of it. And
nothing but profit for the metro area.
Not all that terribly long ago, I'm pretty sure this really substantially worldwide known artist known as Shania Twain played a sold-out concert at Geodis Park, which is literally right off of turn 1 from the Fairground Speedway. I'm pretty sure that noise was just as loud as when a race is there once a month.
Yeah. Concerts are pretty loud, boys and girls. Racer.com reported that NASCAR Senior VP of Competition Elton Sawyer is telling all teams this weekend, all 3 of NASCAR's top division, clean up your restart act. He appeared on SiriusXM Satellite Radio's NASCAR channel earlier this week, and when asked about a multi-car crash on a restart in the Xfinity Series last Saturday in New Hampshire, didn't result in any warnings or penalties. It was a crash that occurred on lap 71, happened as the field got stacked up behind the leaders, John Hunter Nemechek, who was actually the leader, and Chandler Smith, who was his fellow front row mate. Nemechek, the leader, waited until deep into the restart zone, which caused the field, which anticipated a quicker reaction, to kind of begin to check up, stack up to playoff contenders. The aforementioned Parker Kligerman, who lost several points in his battle to get into the top 12, and Justin Allgaier, they got the worst of it, had to bow out of the race. Sawyer said at that time that all teams in Cup, Xfinity, and Trucks are going to get the same, his words, not mine, stern communication. But he didn't say what that communication might include.
This is a spotter problem. Spotter's supposed to watch the lead 2 rows.
Mm-hmm.
Because you got that radio key, you're going, ready. Well, you count down to the restart zone. 3, 2, 1, be ready, green flag.
Yeah. You don't go until you
don't go until you hear green.
Yeah.
Why is your people that is in rows 5 or 6 trying to anticipate the jump before your spotter says green, everybody's rolling?
Yeah.
That's a spotter problem.
Crunch time, boys and girls. As we noted in the recap, Ryan Preece made his debut in the Superstar Racing Experience. He brought, as you will be able to see momentarily, if you don't see it already, on CRN Live on YouTube, he brought his Cup Series number 41, sported the Camping World sponsorship, and there is rumor, although nothing specified yet, that he might be back for more.
Ryan Preece had Haas on the car.
Oh, well.
He had Haas on the car.
Okay, that's on the hood. On the side of the wing, he had Camping World. At least that's what it showed initially.
All the cars had Camping World on the wings, but his primary was some Haas.
All right. Well, hey, that even works even better. Mm-hmm. And then 2 firsts for the SRX Series had a cross-sport sponsorship. The NHL's Florida Panthers, this year's Stanley Cup champions, were on the hood for Daniel Suarez's SRX Series debut, brought the Series number 99, Cup Series number 99 along with him as well. So, yeah, kind of cool to see that. Final race before this edition of Bandimere Speedway shut down. We were just talking about how neighborhoods encroach upon existing racetracks and then complain about the noise. Well, Bandimere's officials decided they couldn't take it anymore. So they said, you know what? We're going to sell the land. You go, you do whatever you're going to do. We're going to go take our money and we're going to go try and find another place and build another track. So this version of the track closes. They're looking for land and looking to build another edition of the track soon. As to when it might actually be able to even break ground, we don't know, much less maybe get back on the NHRA schedule.
I saw something to where the Bandimere family is looking to have a track open by 25.
Hopefully that works out for them. Meanwhile, not only were they a sellout on Sunday, the final weekend at Bandimere Speedway in its current edition sold out Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Shows just how much those people like their racing in Denver. And again, you're the guys that moved into a neighborhood with a racetrack. They were there a long time before you got there.
Sorry, but it's the I'm going to go morning show here.
Do it.
It's the mentality that this country has gotten into.
I agree.
Pathetic.
Yep. We hate street racing, so we need to build them a place where they can go race and do it safer. So we build a drag strip someplace. And then all of a sudden we go, hey, you know what? That's some pretty good land. Let's go move in there. But now we have to complain about the noise at the racetrack. So you shut down the racetrack, and what happens? They go street racing again. Duh. Legendary NHRA racer Don the Snake Prudhomme. He's going to be cited in Seattle. He's going to be the grand marshal for this weekend. Take part in several fan meet and greets and autograph sessions this weekend. He won this event twice, back-to-back years, 1975, 1976. And on Sunday, he'll also be part of the NHRA on Fox broadcast. That's going to be fun. Have him on there. By the way, thanks to motorsport.com for the picture on CRN Live on YouTube. We noted that a sponsor added last weekend for the racing in Denver also would be upgrading the lighting at all 30 Kalitta Air facilities around the country. This weekend, Kalitta Air actually gets time on the Kalitta Motorsports Top Fuel rider Sean Langdon, marking the first time this year. It'll be a primary sponsor for the rest of 2023, because if you're an aspiring pilot or you're a plane mechanic, Kalitta Air might be the place you want to talk to, because they're looking for everybody.
I don't think I can get enough flight hours quick enough to fly a 747 cargo jet.
Just saying, it's out there. To IndyCar news here, following everybody watching a wheel fly off a racer over the fence, and luckily not into the grandstands during the Indy 500, but it did land in a parking lot where it hit and severely damaged a spectator Chevrolet Cruze, which prompted track officials to end up giving her a new car. She liked an official Indy 500 Chevy Equinox so much that was used during the parade laps before the famed race that they gave one of those to her. Okay, not bad. But with that visual and the fear that something like that might happen again, and this time it might end up in the grandstands, IndyCar and Dallara, the official chassis builder for IndyCar, set to introduce a new, stronger piece of safety equipment that's meant to keep the rear wheels attached to the car in case of a crash. Again, this is Dallara, chassis manufacturer. They reportedly have made a retaining nut that is now 60% stronger than the old design and is set to go into use this weekend for the Iowa doubleheader. As fans of racing know by now, open-wheel cars are meant to kind of come apart during a crash in order to dissipate the energy of the crash instead of transferring it direct to the driver. But they want to try and keep the wheels attached to the racer as best they can, so there are tethers that are attached to the racer and the wheel. Hasn't always been successful in keeping the wheels attached. Wheels have gone off into the stands, in rare cases, injured, and in very, very rare cases, killed spectators. So they certainly want to eliminate that, and they're hoping that this is a step forward in the right direction. I don't think it's the last thing that they can do. It's just a step in the right direction. I mean, it's a retaining nut.
Yeah, it is. It is.
So we'll see where it goes.
I think they need to go with tethers as well, some type of fashion.
Some fashion, yeah. Simon Pagenaud, meanwhile, remains out after his rollover crash at Mid-Ohio. Meyer-Shank Racing has gone back to the driver who filled in for him in that race at Mid-Ohio. It's Connor Daly. He's going to sub for him again this weekend in Iowa. IndyCar officials looked over Pagenaud on Tuesday, said, nope, can't clear you just yet. So we continue to have our thoughts and our prayers out for the recovery of Pagenaud.
He must obviously have been in worse concussion protocol than what it was perceived.
Yeah, they've not gone in detail. And that's one of those things. We're not getting that clarification. But at the same time, you know, I understand and respect the privacy that Simon Pagenaud may be looking for as well.
Well, sure.
You know,
but the corner worker, and I'll give you a reference. The corner worker that was at Mid-Ohio in the same corner I was at, he was in that corner when Pagenaud had that flip.
Yeah.
He said that's got to be the fastest, most violent flip I've ever seen in a car hold together.
Yeah. If you can, and if you can stomach it, luckily it's not a death again. Right. But yeah, try and check out Simon Pagenaud Mid-Ohio crash. Just do a search for it. You find the video for that. It's not going to be pretty.
Yeah, it's wild.
Jumco's Hollinger Racing, we got a picture of this. They've gotten a bit more support with the global financial company Pay.com set to come on board. This is a multi-year sponsorship deal. The website is, as noted, worldwide. They're looking to assist companies grow through payment solutions that work to make it smoother and faster than ever before. The deal puts the look that you see on CRN Live on YouTube right now, courtesy of IndyCar.com, on the number 77 of Callum Ilott and the 78 of Agustin Canapino in varying races throughout the remainder of the year. Pretty good looking car there. So looking forward to seeing that. And again, this is just more more of a hint that Juncos, I need to make sure I get that proper because that's the proper pronunciation. I've been pronouncing it wrong all these years and I apologize. Juncos Hollinger Racing is here to stay. They ain't going nowhere. Mm-hmm. While we await the official release of the 2024 IndyCar schedule, it seems that things are being shaken up already from the provisional one that we kind of detailed a few weeks ago, and it will fill a big early season hole. This year, first weekend of August is when IndyCar heads to Music City to race on the streets of Nashville, the Music City Grand Prix. Next year, though, we got a problem. And it appears that the series and the city are close to an extension of the deal that will keep the race in the city. And the current contract ends after this year. But Racer.com is reporting that part of that new deal may prompt a shift on the schedule, at least for 1 year, and maybe on a more permanent basis, and make the Music City Grand Prix the IndyCar season finale. Keep in mind that during the late July, early August window of 2024, NBC, which will by that time be in television coverage for both IndyCar and NASCAR, is also going to be in full Olympics coverage mode. So they've already asked IndyCar, and IndyCar is working on a way to where they're not going to be racing during that time. NASCAR is going to be a little bit different because they're going to have to do a lot more shuffling if they don't want to race during the Olympics time. Don't know how that's going to work just yet. We'll find out. Either way, in order to keep the race promoters and city officials very happy, talk has IndyCar willing to put them as the season finale at least for 1 year, maybe more. The current season finale host, WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca, reportedly looking to move way up on the 2024 slate, maybe from season finale all the way up into March and race number 2 of the year. That's currently where that big hole, that month between the season opener in St. Petersburg and the existing race 2 on the provisional schedule, which is Texas, would be in early April.
I think that would be smart.
I have no problem with that.
I think it'd be very smart.
Now, do keep in mind that does mean a cross-country trek. You start in St. Petersburg, you go all the way to just south of San Francisco, and then you come back to Dallas. But we've seen it before. IndyCar wouldn't be the first series to do that, and this wouldn't be the first time that IndyCar would have done that. So I don't think that's that big of a deal.
I think it would be different if it was in consecutive weeks, but with it being that much of a gap,
yeah,
I don't think it's that big of a problem.
I don't think it will be. Then there's the other pressing situation. Let's go back to the construction of the already approved and already talked about on this show stadium for the NFL's Tennessee Titans. It's set to be built next door to the existing current Nissan Stadium, and it will encroach upon the course that IndyCar currently uses for the Music City Grand Prix. So as part of the new deal, it's also expected the city and race promoters are looking into alternative street plans that would get them at least closer to, if not actually racing on the famed Broadway, where the bars, restaurants, and music halls are. I think that's kind of been something that IndyCar would have liked to have had all along, even if you only do it for a block. I think they would love to say, we're racing on Broadway.
There's a path that they could take. They could race on it probably 3 or 4.
I'd love to see it. And I think IndyCar and NBC would love it too.
I mean, right there coming down in front of Bridgestone Arena and Tootsie's and Ernest Tubbs Record Shop down
Absolutely.
where Hard Rock is and hang left right there where Coyote Ugly is up there.
There you go.
That'd be a good little race.
I think it would. Got some Formula One news that's going to wrap up this edition of CRN, and it's going to come up right after this final break. And then we'll drop the green flag and the checkered flag after this.
Stay right here for more on the Championship Racing Network.
What they say, you screw up by putting the wrong thing in the wrong spot. Oh, well, that happens. No, we're not done yet. Excuse you. I'll fix that in a minute. Let's get into some Formula One news, shall we here? Stefano Domenicali, Formula One's boss. Well, at least he wasn't complaining this week about a possible addition to the Formula One starting grid. But he did have a complaint, seeking the FIA hand out more than just wrist slaps for going over the budget cap, and seeking something other than a monetary fine on top of that. Last year, Red Bull was found to be over their budget cap. They were fined $7 million US, and they were also docked some wind tunnel time. And all that for being a little less than $2 million over the budget. Most of Red Bull's competitors, however, complained loudly that the penalty wasn't stiff enough. And then, of course, Red Bull's gone 10 for 10 in Formula One wins this season. So, yeah, maybe they're on to something. So what does Domenicali want? Sporting sanctions. He's talking about a points deduction, something that could actually impact a run for the title in any given season. Maybe not this one, but, still. In talking with Autosport, German, if I remember correct, website/publication, Domenicali said, quote, "I'd like the penalty to be sporting in case of infringement. It is something that we asked for very clearly. There are 3 regulations to be respected: sporting, technical, and financial. Any infractions must be punished with sporting measures. You can't go in any other direction," he says. Okay. Agree or disagree?
I can't say that I disagree.
Okay. And I understand where you're coming from because, at some point in time, you have to, what's the word? You have to be willing to hammer down on somebody for not going over. Let's face it. A $7 million fine, yeah, it's hefty. Cutting down on the amount of time that you can spend in the wind tunnel, it could hurt. But obviously, again, Red Bull's gone 10 for 10 this year. 8 of those wins by Max Verstappen, the other 2 by a guy who has been massively inconsistent this year. But still, he's got 2 wins. Those penalties didn't affect Red Bull at all.
I think it only bolstered them.
They wrote a check.
It's like, here you go.
And didn't think twice about putting 6 zeros on said check. They flipped a check at the FIA and said, "Here you go," and went laughing off into their 3rd Constructors' Cup in a row, or 2nd Constructors' Cup in a row, and 3rd Drivers' title in a row.
Mm-hmm. It's
it didn't have teeth.
No, at least it wouldn't like what Daniel Snyder's got. But so hey, go Commanders.
Yeah. Please change that name. Domenicali added this, quote, "Control is in the hands of the FIA. Personally, what I've asked is to anticipate as soon as possible the publication of the investigations made by the staff of the FIA. But I say this only because in this way, it doesn't give rise to speculation and comments that aren't good for anyone." All of this, again, in response to the speculation surrounding Red Bull's overreach in 2022 and how long it took before the penalties were announced and seeking a quicker resolution. And oh, by the way, just to let you know, these are rumors that are in the wind. The FIA, Formula One, nobody's commenting yet. But we have rumors that not only is Red Bull potentially over their budget again this year, but 2 other teams are as well. Yeah. 2 other teams saw a slight reduction in wind tunnel time and a $7 million penalty and went, we can do that.
Yeah, especially when one of them is Lawrence Stroll.
Mm-hmm. So we'll see whether or not any of this actually takes place. Qualifying. Let's do the story first because I think it has had an effect.
Big effect.
Qualifying procedure a little different this weekend than what we've seen in the past. You have your regular Q1, Q2, and Q3 qualifying sessions. Q2 just wrapped up. We'll give you the rundown here in a moment. But the series mandated the tire compounds that the team was going to use during those test qualifying sessions. For Q1, all 20 cars had to run on hard compound tires. Could that have had effect on what George Russell was not able to do, which is not get out of Q1 in his Mercedes?
In 18th.
Ouch. Now, remember, there are 5 compounds technically, real soft, all the way to real hard. They only bring 3 of those and technically call them soft, medium, and hard. So the hardest compound tire that Pirelli brought to Hungary, all 20 cars were on that in Q1. The 15 cars move on to Q2, get to move to medium compound tires, and the 10 that go to Q3 then get to go to soft compound tires. Again, all this mandated by Formula One. And those series officials stated that is to drop the number of sets per team that Pirelli needs to bring to the race. Now down to 11 sets for the weekend, practice, qualifying, and race all included. The teams will be given 4 sets of soft, 4 sets of medium, 3 sets of hard compound tires for use. The series actually wanted to try that at the Emilia-Romagna, but that race obviously got canceled due to the historic flooding in that region. Mm-hmm. So they're trying it here. Mercedes is already out. We found that out. Q2 just ended. Who else is now out?
That's going to be Pierre Gasly, Lance Stroll, Daniel Ricciardo, Esteban Ocon, and Carlos Sainz.
Okay. Not a Ferrari, okay. But still not not as big a surprise in some ways as George Russell and a Mercedes not making it out of Q1.
Or even with both Alphas making Q3.
Yeah, both Alfa Romeos bringing that. So, again, I think officials are going to take a real close look at that rear wing. And if that gets approved, there are going to be a lot of changes from teams. Number 2, Daniel Ricciardo in his first race gets out of Q1 into Q2. Mm-hmm. So that's a definite noted improvement for AlphaTauri.
Definite.
Where's the Red Bulls?
Currently right now, Q3 is rolling. They currently set P1 and P4.
Okay. We'll keep an eye on it because that should wrap up. Is it going to wrap up by the time we get done?
There's 7 minutes and 15 seconds left.
It's going to be close. Hopefully we'll be able to make that work. We'll let you know. We'll keep you updated. A couple of big changes in Formula One in 2 weeks. We'll talk Nick DeVries and AlphaTauri in a moment. First, Alpine CEO Laurent Rossi, who was looking like a rock star 2022, is out. His rock got crushed. He's been replaced by a gentleman by the name of Felipe Krief. Rossi took over as CEO of Alpine in 2021, said he had a goal. Wanted to have Alpine as a championship contender within 100 races. Matt and I kind of looked sideways at each other when he said that, but we were like, okay, let's see what you got. In 2022, it certainly looked like they were on schedule to do it. They claimed 4th in the final Constructors' Cup standings in 2022. It even looked like maybe they were a little ahead of schedule. Yeah, 2023 has not been as kind. They're 6th in the standings right now, and you think, okay, they were 4th last year. They're 6th this year. It's not that bad. No, they're 12 points out of 5th. They're 110 points behind 4th place Ferrari. You ain't matching 4th place from last year to this year. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen. You might get 5th, but you're going to be triple digits behind 4th. And that poor start to 2023 led Rossi to lash out first at the Alpine staff for wasting team resources. He even went as far as to put team principal Otmar Staffnauer on notice to turn things around for the better, or else. What exactly that or else might have been, we don't know, and we'll never see it because Rossi likely saw it coming, that he was going to get fired when the team restructured. They brought in Bruno Famine, who's an engineer by trade. He was hired to be Alpine's VP of Motorsports. Staffnauer was put under Famine, out from under Rossi's control. So Rossi is out at Alpine altogether. Krief joined the team earlier this year after having worked as an engineer at Ferrari, Alfa Romeo, and Maserati altogether. We'll see whether or not this pays off dividends.
Attaboy, Ryan Reynolds. Let's go.
Talk to me.
What?
Ryan Reynolds, now part owner
of Alpine.
Of Alpine.
Attaboy, Ryan. Shuffle the whole deck up. Let's go.
We'll see whether this goes. How's Alpine doing in qualifying, by the way?
Alpine sits 12 and 15. Both cars got into Q2,
but they didn't make it to Q3. Yep. And then there's Nick DeVries, again officially out of the car and at the team at AlphaTauri after not even half the 2023 season had passed. He went public on social media, but he kept it pretty professional. I got to give him credit because he could have blown apart on this one. And there are people that have calling Red Bull every name in the book except for a son of God for letting this guy go after not even giving him a full season. But here's what DeVries said first. We'll get into this in a second. Quote, a short note from me. After recent events, I decided to take some time for myself away from social media, which I will continue to do. I would like to thank Red Bull, Scuderia AlphaTauri, the official name, for the opportunity to live my dream. Of course, it hurts that the F1 chance that I dreamed of for so long ended prematurely, but life is not a destination, it's a journey, and sometimes you have to take the hard road to get where you want to be. I'm grateful for our privileged lives, proud of our journey and my family, and this is just another experience. We move on and we look forward to the next chapter.
That's a good way to keep it professional. But I would have blasted him. I mean, you yank the man up from
Formula E, where he'd been successful.
The battery-powered F1 cars.
Yeah, you can go ahead and say that way.
That doesn't even have remotely close to the horsepower or the power that the F1 car has.
Yeah.
You take him from the battery powers to nearly 1,000 horsepower car.
Into a car, by the way, that we now know Red Bull has admitted is the junior organization to Red Bull.
Which essentially is half of what you see Red Bull has.
Yeah, it's the B team. I mean, what he did when he stepped in, he did a fantastic job when he stepped in over at Mercedes for Lewis Hamilton when he was sick and claimed a top 10 finish in his debut.
Mm-hmm.
That was a top flight car that Mercedes gave him. They gave him Lewis Hamilton's car.
Mm-hmm.
In this case, he's getting a hand-me-down, which doesn't have all the bells and whistles, technically, that Red Bull's cars have. AlphaTauri is the junior team to Red Bull.
He was essentially given an ARCA car to try to qualify for a cup race.
That ain't going to work.
No. Not even close.
And yet they're going to yank him out and they're going to put Daniel Ricciardo in there. Ricciardo has more experience in these cars than Nick DeVries does.
Sure.
Even if he hasn't been in the car since really 2022, he's got more recent experience in a Formula One car and a heck of a lot more of it than Nick DeVries could hope for.
Yeah, absolutely does. But this wasn't a smart business move by Red Bull.
I totally agree. I mean, I understand they want to put Ricciardo in the car because he's a proven winner.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what? You wait until the end of the year. If you want to make the change then, you make the change then.
Just because you get in a test session and you're quick right out of the gate, we're taking DeVries out of the car. We're going to put Ricciardo in because he's faster than the Red Bull car. There's a difference here. If he goes out and turns that kind of a fast lap in an AlphaTauri that mirrors the Red Bull car, okay, now you got an argument. Is it the right argument? Maybe, maybe not.
Let's again look at
the difference.
Let's again look at the difference of what we were talking about. Yes, Daniel Ricciardo made Q2. He'll start 13th, first and fourth. Last we saw in qualifying for Red Bull.
Currently, right now, first and fifth.
Still,
with 46 seconds to go.
Think about that for a couple of minutes. That is a big, massive difference. As for Ricciardo himself, he's not willing to stop here. He appears to have found his competitive spirit again. He's looking forward to debuting, obviously, for this weekend, and already looking ahead. Says he's targeting 2025 to be up at Red Bull. Team principal Christian Horner noted that both Red Bull drivers, Max Verstappen and Sergio Perez, are under contract through 2024. But then again, Nick DeVries had a contract through 2023. So what does that mean, really? No. Squat. So Max Verstappen ain't going nowhere. No. Sergio Perez, I think you're officially on notice. Just saying. That being said, how's Sergio and the rest of the Q3 people doing?
Q3 just went checkers. They're probably cycling through, but as it stands right now, Verstappen, Hamilton, Norris, Piastri, Leclerc, Alonso, Perez-Berg. Norris just jumped Hamilton to P2.
Okay, then. So there you go. Well, that's all we got for this weekend, ladies and gentlemen. Ain't that enough? I mean, the fireworks are still reverberating off of the echoes in the mountains in the far distant past. It'll be fun to watch, though. Hope you enjoy the racing this weekend. We'll be back. We'll talk about it all again next weekend right here. And hopefully, producer John will be feeling better, and all three of us will be back in studio again next weekend. Y'all enjoy the week. Enjoy the racing. Stay safe. Have fun. We'll talk to you again very, very soon right here on the Championship Racing Network.
This has been a presentation of the Championship Racing Network.